South Africa's agriculture remains an important sector of the economy and holds great potential to reduce poverty. It is also central to the political economy of the country. For the industry to work and flourish in 2023, there are certain key areas that need workable solutions for all parties involved. Wandile Sihlobo of Agbiz elaborates on this. But first, over to Lisa for the latest agricultural news.
Elanco, we are driven by our vision of food and companionship, enriching life.
In today's news, according to a report by Wines of South Africa, it is positive to see that export value has seen a mere 2.4% decline, with rand per litre on the whole showing marginal growth. A total volume of 368.8 million litres of wine left our shores in 2022, some 20 million litres less than in 2021. These exports totaled 9.9 billion rand in the value, down from 10.2 billion rand in 2022. The decline can mainly be attributed to shipping constraints at the Port of Cape Town. The total price per litre increased by 2.2%, mainly supported by the 5.3% increase in bulk rand per litre. The International Fresh Produce Association has appointed Stefanie van der Walt as the new country manager for IFPA Southern Africa. In her new role, van der Walt will focus on supporting IFPA's global impact through member services, seeking opportunities to create greater value for Southern African members and providing insights into the need of the Southern African market. As part of IFPA's global country manager team, van der Walt will collaborate with international counterparts to create opportunities to connect IFPA's global markets. And according to a report on Fresh Plaza, the European market for butternut squash is very short at the moment. This is due to a lower supply from Portugal and Spain. This season will also finish earlier than normal. South African butternut producers are now hoping to fill this gap, and their butternut should arrive on the European market by mid to late February. According to Vita Fresh Produce, they are looking at sending up to 70 containers to Europe this season. They will stop shipping in June when the European supply recommences. And that's good news and also today's news. What will South Africa and agriculture talk about this time in 2023? Joining me now is Wandile Sihlobo from Agbiz. Wandile, first of all, what do you expect from agriculture in 2023 as far as growth is concerned?
Happy New Year, Liza. I think 2023 is going to be a slight recovery from what we saw in 2022. So now 2022 full growth numbers will be out by March, but in those numbers we expect them to show a mild contraction for a number of reasons. On a technical side is that with a large base effect story, the past 2 years were solid growth in agriculture, and I think that higher base compared with what the activity of 2022 is going to contribute to a bit of a contraction. In addition to that, we had challenges of the widespread foot and mouth disease in the livestock industry. We have struggles with the exports for some of the fruits in the EU, challenge to exporting wool. All of those put together will give us a mild contraction for 2022 numbers. And of course, if you look at maize numbers, they are slightly down, although still a large crop compared to the previous year. Now, fast forward and looking at 2023, we think this year is going to show a bit of a recovery. We'll be coming from a negative, but also the good rainfalls that we have seen thus far and this better warmth that we are seeing in some part of the country right now, I think all of this bode well to give us a good crop, assuming that load shedding doesn't get to be a major challenge that is prolonged.
Now, you have identified 5 challenges that you believe will be part of discussions in the first half of this year. Let's start with exports.
I think this year, expanding agricultural exports to markets beyond the ones that we traditionally export to is going to be a major priority for South Africa. We are at a space where we are growing the production level. And there will be an urge to implement the master plan, which all speaks about the expansion of the production, but also an angle that talks about the export markets. And what I think is going to be priority this year is looking at countries like Saudi Arabia, China, India, Bangladesh, South Korea are just some of the countries that I think we will be looking at saying, how do we widen our access into those countries? That's one of the most important things that I think people will be looking at this year.
What about land reform?
Land reform hasn't disappeared, but I think this year it comes off in a much more meaningful way, in a sense that we are looking this year possibly at the prospects of implementing what is called the Agriculture and the Land Reform Agency. This is something that Minister Didiza has talked about, the President has talked about several times, and we understand from an Agbiz side that the colleagues at the department have made some progress in structuring this agency. And hopefully this year we'll begin to see a bit of progress with implementation of that. If implemented successfully, focus on redistribution, it also offers South Africa an opportunity to move away from discussions such as the talks of expropriation without compensation and the others. And I think that's going to be a priority part this year as we think about the expansion of agriculture.
Many of us are concerned about the deterioration of municipalities. Will this have an impact on agriculture?
The deterioration of the municipalities is a major issue. It's clear when you drive around South Africa, looking at the rural towns, the roads, water infrastructure, the entire service delivery has not been up to standard. Just looking back, for example, in 2021, we saw Clover leaving Lichtenburg because of these issues. In much of Mpumalanga, Astral has been experiencing some of these challenges, and I think we will see these dominating the discussion again this year to say, how do you address them? Because the rains of the past 2 years or so have also deteriorated the conditions of the roads to the extent that now this is going to be a challenge not only of agriculture, but the tourism industry faces the similar issue. And I think these will dominate the discussion, people saying, hey, we need improvement on this. And I would add onto this the issue of electricity, because then this puts these to be 6 issues. And the electricity shortages, particularly the prolonged load shedding that we are seeing at the moment, is one of those things that is linked to service delivery and the functioning of the network industries that is receiving attention at this point. And I think on the electricity one, particularly for agriculture, there's discussions now happening between the minister, Department of Agriculture, and private sector role players to say, how do we come up with short-term and long-term solutions? And I think this is part of those things that will be shaping the discussion in the sector this year.
Your next point is agricultural regulations.
Regulations are an important thing in crafting the rules of the game at which we all are operating in. And I think in agriculture, one of those that has been a headache for many people is a story around what we call Act 36 of the of agriculture, which is the act that manages the importation and the registration of farm products, seeds, and agrochemicals. It has been useful in the past on ensuring that South Africa registers all of the key products that have given us productivity. But if we look at it now, it is at that stage where we should be considering the modernization of it so that we are able going forward to import even some of the products that will continue to propel our productivity. We haven't seen such good agency in as far as the modernization of that in the past few years. And if you speak with anyone that is in the livestock industry or otherwise, they keep raising this issue. And I think this year, it will continue to be one of the important matters to be discussed.
And finally, something that's been with us for quite some time, and that is agricultural finance.
Agricultural finance, is an engine of everything in here, because South Africa is one of those farming structures that is quite capital intensive. And if we think about the expansion, bringing new entrants into farming, we have to also be expanding a pool of finance that can assist these new entrants. We saw last year the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, together with the Land Bank, launching a blended finance program. Now, this will need to be widened to bring in new participants in here as other commercial banks, other agribusinesses, and even think about widening its scale. And I think that's going to be part of this drive of saying, how do we grow the agricultural sector, and financing will part and parcel of that decision, of that discussion.
And that was Wandile Sihlobo, of course, economist at Agbiz.
Goeiedag, die pryse van A2 rooi vleiskarkasse het in week 2 van die jaar redelik teruggesak. A2 beeskarkasse se prys het met 6.6% week op week gedaal, terwyl lamkarkasse 3.1% goedkoper geword het. Hierdie daling is redelik normaal in Januarie, met die pryse wat die eerste week in Januarie nog redelik hoog is op die rig van hoë Desember pryse en dan deur die loop van die maand afneem. Die C2 karkaspryse basies onveranderd gebly, terwyl die speenkalfprys week op week met 1.2% gestyg het, maar die speenlamprys met 3.6% gedaal het. Varkvleis se prys is ook 1.6% laer as die vorige week. Afgelope week se wolveiling het die wolpryse stygende tendens voortgesit en met 3.8% gestyg teenoor die vorige week. Wat grane aanbetref, geelmielie-prys 4.3% op week, die koringprys is 0.4% sterker en sojaboon en sonneblom se prys het onderskeidelik met 2 en 5% gestyg. Die rand het die afgelope week swaar getrek teenoor vernaamste wisselkoerse, grootliks as gevolg van Suid-Afrika se energiekrisis wat buitelandse vertroue ontneem, en die rand het dus met 1.9% verswak teenoor die dollar en met 2.5% verswak teenoor die euro.
Ons stel bekend, die nuwe, sterker as ooit tevore, 165 kW Hilux GR Sport.
Welcome to today's auction calendar. On the 24th of January, the Pine Grove Merino stud sale at the Farm Pine Grove at Dordrecht in the Eastern Cape. Op die 2de Februarie, die 21ste Prieska prestasie getoetste veldram veiling. Dit vind plaas by Oranje Rivier Voere by Prieska. Op die 4de Februarie, die Bosvelder Studiegroep Elite veiling by die Warmbad Veemark op Bella Bella. Die 9de Februarie, die Tigani Bonsmaras aandeelveiling op die Plaas goed vooruitsig by Hartbeesfontein. 11 February, the Wayside Stud Sales 10th anniversary at Wayside Farm in Francistown, Botswana. En ons laaste veiling vir vandag, 15 Februarie, die Donne Merino Telersgenootskap se nasionale veiling by die Botaniese Sportsgronde op Graafrenet.